So, hello, Michelle Shingawa.
Hi,
I
Wendy.
I think I know you like a long time. I think I might know you 8 years by now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I can't believe how long it's been. But you're right. It's probably about 8 years.
It's probably about 8 years. So I met Michelle when I took, which changed my life, lessons on how to be a Reiki master, and I became a Reiki master. And I actually, before the pandemic, um, I had wonderful clients and we grew together and it was a beautiful thing. And Michelle, you had already studied at that point, right? When you were in the class.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been Reiki master since 2006.
Oh, you have.
Mhm.
Where did you study?
With Margaret Case at the Open
Oh,
Center.
you did. Oh my. At the Open Center.
Hmm.
What prompted you to become a Reiki master?
So, can I start with what prompted me to
Anything.
start Reiki?
Yeah.
And I probably told you this story, but I started because my dog had arthritis.
Oh,
I was
right. Right.
right. I'm the crazy dog mother who do anything for dog, and he was limping when he was 6 years old. And one of my friend mentioned about how, oh, I'm gonna take this Reiki class this weekend, and I heard it's good for humans arthritis. Maybe it work on dogs too. So I'm like, all right, sign me up. And then I took the class, and then I did sessions on my dog. And it didn't really take that long, but he stopped limping for 6 years after.
Wow. Wow. So we started that way. And I want to go further. That's actually wonderful to know. I had a dog and I used to give her Reiki. She used to love it too. But Michelle Shingawa is, when I think about healing, when I think about positive energy, when I think about somebody who has studied and enjoyed and opened her mind. Every time I would see Instagram, there she was. And she's one of the senior leaders at Tony Robbins. She's doing, the Reiki. Now she's doing Marie Kondo, which is all part of the same thing. And you came to my house and you helped me a couple times. I was drowning in it. And now would be a perfect time for people to get involved with you with Marie Kondo. But you also do aromatherapy. And all of these things are not like a little up here, a little down there. It's all one force. And that force is you. And that force is about healing. And I, everybody, man, woman, my granddaughters, just sit down and hear the possibilities for your own healing. Just when you think, God knows what everyone's been through this winter and summer, fall, whatever. There is a way to feel better about your life, a way to feel better and to be better. I don't know that I'm even explaining this enough, but you want to take it away and get me out of this because you're so, I look up to you so much. I don't say that to many people.
Oh, thank you.
I do, because I know that you heal because you're altruistic. I know you heal because it is who you are. And I've since read and find out that you come from a family, you're Japanese, and you come from a family who heal and care and nourish other people. So tell me about yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, before I talk about myself, I also want to say I admire you. You're
Oh,
so talented. And to see you at the airport, right? Like I've seen your billboard at the airport. It's like, that's me.
yeah, that was that in Singapore or I mean, it was just, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think I took a picture and sent it to you or something. I mean,
You did.
but I'm sure everyone sent it to you. But I was just like, wow. And you like decided, oh, I'm gonna be an actress. And then, or wait, were you acting or were you posing? Were you a model or were you actress?
So in my career, when I graduated high school, I really wanted to be an actress. And I came to school in New York, and my father said, study to be an accountant. I mean, my God. But I went, of all the people, that would be the last job. I would die being an accountant. But I went to New York and I got a job as a model. And so my first thing was I modeled most of my life. I modeled in Europe. I've modeled everywhere. And I was a model. And then as you get older as a model, you have to go with the flow. And then I became not so much a young model as I did a young mother. And they said, well, try to do some TV commercials. So it's always been a progression. And I wouldn't call doing TV commercials acting, that I would, it's modeling of a certain way. And there are lines and we do say things, but I mean, now I'm doing not geriatric, but pharmaceutical ones. So, and I'm very proud and I enjoy it. And I mean, at a certain age to know that I've got 3 jobs coming up next week. I mean, that's kind of, I know, that's kind of exciting. So, but you're exciting. And you go to Tony Robbins and you're a senior leader. Oh my God. We can talk about just him. But Marie Kondo has taken the world by storm.
Yes. And then also Reiki too, right? It's just like, right. I mean, now, when I started Reiki in 2001, and when I started, I had to explain to people what Reiki was. But now I could even, go to like a small town and then I'll mention like, oh, I do Reiki. And most of them will say, oh, I've heard of it.
Right.
What is, right? It's not like this voodoo, like no one knows about. Or
right.
Yeah. So Reiki is how I got into this world. So I started out so I'm originally from Japan, like you said. I came here when I was 17 and I was really shy. My English was not there. I only was able to say like, hi. Yeah. So it just, I call myself, I used to be a warrior because I worry all the time.
Oh,
yeah. So I was not positive. I was worried all the time and I was really shy. And then the Reiki journey took me to connect with myself and shed all these things that I was carrying around. So I'm sure your listeners, have heard what Reiki is, but in my definition, Reiki energy is the energy that exists everywhere. It's a spiritual life force energy. And what we do in our Reiki classes is that we actually learn the system to utilize it. So that way it's not, and you learn how to use them in terms of the hands-on healing to be able to help you amplify your immune system or healing, your own healing ability or someone else's. But on top of it, it's a spiritual practice. So I went into Reiki for my dog, but then the reason I went into Reiki Master Program is because I've noticed that every time I go through, and I did 9-month Reiki Master Program. So every time I went to the class, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Something explode. And then I find myself inside. So all these like should that I was carrying around, all these like boxes that I put myself inside, I started to see myself inside. So I don't know, what your experience of Reiki Master journey is, but I assume it's as magical as mine too.
It was actually, it was so magical. If there was something beyond master, I mean, I just wanted to keep going and going, and I wanted to be around other Reiki people. And for you listeners, Michelle would stand up and she would explain things to us, and the teacher was so wonderful and so powerful. And then Michelle would stand up and I thought, this is where I need to be and this is where I want to be. And then when I started giving Reiki treatments, I would benefit almost maybe more. Just the concept of the hands-on healing with people and the kindness and the really going inside of yourself. We don't know, maybe Americans are just learning how to go inside of ourselves and trusting what it is and knowing it is magical. It's something that so many of us just we don't know how, that's all. We don't know how, and we maybe don't trust it. But this is pure you. And yeah, definitely changed my life.
Yeah, the Reiki energy is just, for those of you who never tried, we become the conduit. So we become the channel. So we're not using our own energy. And I used to work at very busy, one of the top New York advertising agency. And so, I'll come home maybe and then I had a home office. So I'll come home at 7, right? I'm running.
Right,
and then I'll
right.
sit with a client at 7 p.m. And then people are like, aren't you tired? And I'm like, no, I get energized after I give session to my clients. So yeah, you are nodding because that's how it is. You just receive the energy and you feel better and your clients feel better too. And, I tend to be someone that I'm often the gateway to Reiki. So maybe because I've been around for a long time and that I often get people call me up or email me and be like, so my friend thinks I should do Reiki. I never done it, and I hope it works. And everyone goes home with such bright smile.
Yes.
And nowadays, right, it's a virtual session, so everyone end the session with such bright smile and being able to be true to yourself, connecting to your own self, or releasing whatever stuff that you've been holding on to that's not serving you anymore. I mean, it's case by case, depends on what it is. But especially during pandemic, there's so many fear and concerns that people are just holding on to. And I'm so blessed that I have the ability to be able to help people to get out of that.
And you're more than, and by the way, folks, what we're talking about now, we're going to keep going, and you're going to hear about Marie Kondo and Tony Robbins and this healing journey, but you're on your own healing journey. But more than anybody I know, you have the ability to turn all of these lessons and all of these classes and all these experiences in the aromatherapy and to really make a difference in the way people can live their lives. It is possible for all of that change. And I originally said to Michelle, I said, well, should we talk about Marie Kondo? Should we maybe not talk just about Reiki? And she said, no, it's one big package of clearing stagnant energy. Can we just talk about that? Because you and I are going to do some more clearing of stagnant energy. But tell me how that has to do with Reiki.
Yeah. So, so the way I want to bring it out first is that I was never the tidy one. I had a very messy home. I had all these stacks of stuff and, I wasn't able to, I tried to be tidy and it never worked.
Right.
And my home always had amazing energy because I do Reiki sessions or Reiki classes.
Did. I was there and it did. It had great energy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I'll shove my clutter somewhere so that, when my clients are there and that maybe you didn't see them, but there's a lot that was there. And then also those are things that is, how would I say, how we mentally hold on to things or how we physically hold on to things that you actually don't need, but you don't want to deal with it.
Right. And you don't want to throw it out.
But it's
just shove it in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah. And it's just okay, I don't need it, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to think about it. I'll put it away. Or oh, well, yeah, maybe just in case. And so what it is with it's called KonMari method. And what I learned from Marie Kondo, and I'm a certified KonMari consultant, is that by actually facing the items that you own. So what we do in KonMari method is we actually choose every item to keep. So when we choose it by keeping items that sparks joy for us. And so if you have 1,000 items or 10,000 items, right, you pick each one of them and then you actually choose them. So this helps you focus on what sparks joy. So what happens most of the time, and you know what, there's many different organizing methods, and I'm not going to put down anything else, but it didn't work for me because it's often about focusing on the negative. So I've noticed during pandemic, a lot of people are suffering because they're stuck at home and there's so much clutter. And then when they start decluttering, often they're focusing on, oh, I don't need that. Oh yeah, why is it here? Oh, why do I have so much stuff? And they're focusing on the negative. That kind of brings them down more. But when you work with me, I will help you focus on what sparks joy for you. So every time I do virtual sessions, but then generally it's like about 3 hours. For a whole 3 hours, you are focusing on what sparks joy for you. So, sometimes maybe it may be a little bit challenging because you have to keep thinking about like, okay, does it spark joy? Does it spark joy? But as you choose them, and then also I guide you into like, there are certain things that's not easy to make a decision. And I help you and I guide you with how to make a decision on those items. And then you feel good about choosing what sparks joy for you, right? You're owning your life as opposed to like, oh, it's there, so I'm just gonna keep it. Or, and then it applies to your life because often people are like, oh, I already have this job. I don't really care about it, but what else can I do? Instead of choosing your own path. And sometimes it's same with item as well as your own life path. The fact that you have chosen them, like I've noticed, we speak energy, right? So I think you understand that when people choose the item and say, hey, you're mine, you come with me, I'm keeping you, they started to sparkle. Even if there's that, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, it's like, when being treated well, then like with your friends or then you sparkle. So it's the same thing, even the stuff that was like in the back of the closet, but you're like, oh, I forgot that I had this thing that sparks joy, and then you choose it, then all of a sudden that becomes your favorite items, and then it's sparkling in your closet. So most of the time I was like that too, but most of my my clients, like they normally tell me like the next day, they send me emails saying like, oh my God, I couldn't stop opening up my closet because it sparks so much joy.
Oh, that's so wonderful. It reminds me, and for all of you listening, this is a perfect example. When my daughter got pregnant, I had saved her baby shoes, her footprint on the birth certificate, her first, I can't even explain it, pictures of her dad and I, and cards from everyone who sent her a gift. And I invited her and Jake, my son-in-law, and they came over and they went, oh, thanks, Mom. And it didn't mean anything to her. It was nice, but here I am dragging around these baby shoes and it meant nothing to them. And then I had a video on a Betamax, you can imagine, and I had to put on a regular thing. And she said, oh, thanks, Mom. And it meant nothing. And I was thinking, what was I hanging on to that stuff for? I knew she was born, and it was like this huge box of stuff. And when you came to my house and helped me, you said, we talked about books and you said, well, you read these books and are you going to read them again? And just lining up books. And I remember, Michelle, that I went to the library with all those books in a shopping cart and I just dumped them, in their thing, and as opposed to it just crowding my life.
Yeah.
You said stagnant energy.
Yes. So just by letting go of things that doesn't spark joy for you anymore, right? It might have certain, and often we have a hard time letting go because maybe it was expensive, or maybe you have some memory, or just because you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But when you let go of them, you bring in new energy, you bring in new air, and then those books that you give it to library, someone else is enjoying them instead of like sitting in your bookshelf forever and ever and ever.
It's true. But when you said that to me, I went to the library twice. That's how many books I had been saving. But I don't even remember what we threw out. And we also, I went to Staples with that same shopping cart filled with paper.
Yes.
And how fresh. So it's bringing things into your life or keeping things that spark joy. What a difference in someone's life.
Yeah, it really makes a difference. But and right, the home makes a big difference too, but also your lifestyle change too, because you're focusing on what sparks joy instead of what you should be doing, what you need to be doing. So I often end up helping my clients with their lifestyle as well too. Like, some people want to cook more, but they just, don't have a tidy kitchen or don't have a lifestyle that they could do that. So as we work through, with this, we call it KonMari Tidying Festival. So normally we start out with the vision, and then we do clothing and books and papers, and then we do the miscellaneous items, and then we do sentimental items, and then we put everything back in a way that works for you. So as we're working through those things, then I'm even helping my clients with their lifestyle so that we create kitchen that's compelling for cooking. And, and then it's different for everyone too. So
I've never ever thought of that because we all, no matter who's listening or where you are, every kitchen has its limitations or its things, but instead of just working around those, you try to create a kitchen that's welcoming and fun. God, whoever thought these things were available?
It's a lot of fun. It's very, last night too, I was working with one of my clients on his kitchen. It's very satisfying to see how, he's going to be able to cook more and be able to have fun there. And like not just changing how the place look, but it's changing the lifestyle. And it's very satisfying to be able to help people with that. And just to let you know, I said goodbye to 500 outfits and 900 books. So
you were your own worst client, right?
Right. That's why, often people are like, oh, you're a KonMari consultant. You must be minimalist. I'm too embarrassed to have, now I do virtual sessions, right? So they could hide things if they want to, but like they often was like, oh, I don't know, do I need to clean up before you come? And I'm like, no. I have seen it all. I've been there, I've done it. So just show me how it is. And often one of the most fun is the before and after picture because of the transformation.
So how does that work? So if someone who is listening now, I mean, I think every single person who's listening, I will assure you, is wanting to do this because even with or without a pandemic, there is stagnant energy. I mean, it should be done because I did it before any of this happened. And I will say I would open a door and it would be clean in there. It'd be organized because there just wasn't so much stuff. And Michelle, you also taught me I have not just loaded more stuff in.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Like you become mindful of what you bring to your home
and what you really need. So just so we can, I just want everyone to understand, how does a session work with you?
Yes.
But with her, Marie Kondo.
Okay. So, or you mean, how do I do KonMari session?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So normally, so any of you are interested, I do a free 30-hour consultation to find out what your problem is and how I can help you. So we start there. And then the first session is generally about 4 hours on finding out what your vision is, what your ideal lifestyle is. So that's where, like, spirituality comes in, right? Like, often people don't know what their ideal lifestyle is or what their ideal home is. So often I do a little meditation, or, with my coaching skills, I'm able to find out what it is. And that's something that you work throughout the process. So we do that, and then I get the house tour on the Zoom. So with the phone, people show me around. And then we also greet home, which is one of the spiritual part of it, the home that's been protecting you, that's been providing you a safe space, so that they can help you with that. And then we start with clothing. So I guide people, and it's very interesting now. Like, when we started to go virtual, I wasn't sure how it was going to work, because I'm like, I'm not there helping them carry all the stuff. But what's so great about doing virtual session is that my clients have to own every item, right? Like, I'm not helping them hold anything. I'm not helping them move anything. So they actually touch every single item, and they actually learn how to do this at their own way fairly quickly. And I'm there as a guide. And what often people need is, like, when they're doing it themselves, they get stuck or stop, right? Like, I know so many of my clients who, like, read the book or watched Netflix show, and then it's like, okay, I did clothes, or maybe I did books. And then, they get stopped because they don't know how to proceed, because it does require certain mindfulness, or like certain coaching or guidance. So that's what I provide as my client go through them. And then, so generally we do the first session with clothing, and then depends on how much of clothing you have, because within the clothing, there's different categories. And then I either, leave them with a homework. So they will do some of the homework, like maybe they'll do their shoes or jewelry on their own. Or if not, I work with them. And then I also help them figure out how to put them back that spark joy for them. And that's easy to use.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. That's like, when I was talking about kitchen too, it's like, okay, so how do you use them, right? Like, which ones do you use and what do you use? And because I think when you're on your own, it's hard to figure that out, because it's always there. It was always hanging over there. So I talk to them and find out what it is that they need, and then I help them figure out where to put them. So it's great with the with the technology, with Zoom. I can see them how they're putting it back, and it's like, oh, no, it's not over there. Or if they left some stuff in the closet, right? I see that. It's like, what's
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So we go through the clothing. Some people take more than one session, and some people do it in one session with a homework. And then we move into the books, and then we do the papers, and then the miscellaneous category is the biggest one, because it's pretty much everything that's not clothes, that's not books, and that's not papers.
Right.
So often,
all
like
this stuff, yeah,
all these things. And so generally we tackle, in couple or few different sessions, and same thing, right? Like, especially kitchen is generally the biggest one, and have everything, like with KonMari method, what you do is you take everything out. There's a magic in not leaving anything in your cabinet, because if you left it there, you're just going to put it back the way it was before. But if it's out there, then we can see what's there. So you can see, like, oh, these are all the shake stuff. Or, oh, these are all the spices, right? Because people just put so many things all over the place. And then you end up with, like, I don't know, 4 of the same thing. So you want to put them all together. But I help my clients with not just choosing the item that sparks joy, but also how to put them away. So, because one of the biggest thing is finding a permanent location for each item. That's what get us to be able to keep the home tidy. So, and then the last items are sentimentals that often people need a lot of helping, because, it's like, oh, well, you know what? These really, I have emotional attachment to it, but I really should let go and I can't. So I help my clients, and throughout too, anything, I help my clients let go of items in a way that sparks joy. So
And we're creating energy. We're creating,
mhm.
tell me, we're creating space. There's a sense of, this, all that stuff that's hanging there, and you never wore, you whatever. But now it's just what you need, what you wear. It's not volumes of things
Right.
for some of us.
And I still have a lot of stuff because so many things sparks joy for me. And so
I'm sure.
that's another thing that I love about KonMari method is it's not like, oh, you can only keep 20 shirts. It's if it sparks joy for you, then keep them. But, keep them proudly, and then also being responsible for your own items. You take care of them well. So I also help with showing my clients how to fold.
Because how to fold a fitted sheet.
Yeah, I can do that too. I generally start with t-shirt or something much simpler.
Yeah.
And I never used to fold. I just scramble them up and throw it in a drawer. But by folding them, you are actually giving, like, that's like a love, you're just like tapping in with, or ironing with your hand with love. And those little things get your clothes to sparkle. And, when I go outside, which not right now so much, but when I used to travel, I could be anywhere and people are always complimenting on my belongings, like what I wear, what I carry.
Yeah.
And because I only choose items that spark joy and I treat them well. So they're always sparkling.
Yeah, there's a world around you. Even when I was in your apartment, just it was light and airy, and you were doing chanting, and I just felt it was bouncing off the walls. It was just so beautiful. I want to ask you something. We're going to talk about aromatherapy and Tony Robbins and all of that, but I would like you to tell our listeners the concept that life can change and life can get happier or better, or just what I said, that life can change. Yeah. And these things matter. It's not just, you're not just, oh my gosh, this is it, this is me, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be that.
Right. Yes. And then also like the current state of our world or something like that too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really all about what you focus on. So that's why I'm talking about like, oh, when you focus on what sparks joy for you, then that's what you see. And so it's funny that I remembered last year, probably about this time of the year when we were still able to travel. And I used to travel like 1/3 of the year. And, I was like all over the place, as you said, all these workshops, and I loved it. But I came up with this quote with a picture of me with butterfly, and saying that I love my life, not because I am traveling, but I am happy wherever I am.
Oh.
And not knowing that pandemic was coming, right?
Right.
We live in New York, so we pretty much were stuck at home 24/7 after that.
Right.
And that was very true to me. Once I wasn't able to travel, and I live in the area that was hit the hardest, even in New York, because I live right by Elmhurst, and yes, it wasn't always easy, but I was able to focus on the gift. I was leading my own Reiki master program at that time. I was doing a 4-month program, which turned into, I think, 8-month program because of pandemic. But we kept, doing the classes on Zoom. And, first thing I said in the beginning of pandemic is, let's focus on the gift, because anytime anything happens, and during those situations, it wasn't easy for me either too. Like my favorite gig that I get to travel and work with my favorite people, that got canceled. of the pandemic. And that was just like, oh my God, okay, I don't know if I can find a gift in this. And right. I was struggling a lot with it. But I just kept going like, what's the gift? Oh, I get to stay in New York longer. Oh, wait, I get to do this instead. And, I get to teach more Reiki classes. And then eventually what it turned out is that gig, although that got canceled, they decided to pay me for the whole duration of the time they actually booked me. So, but staying with it and focusing on the positive, focusing on the gift, and not just, how do I say, artificially inflating them. Really go
That's
deep.
the point. Exactly.
Yeah, right? Like sometimes people are like, oh, I'm happy. And it's like,
yeah, this is great. It's like painting a crumbling wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, this looks good. No, it doesn't. It's falling apart.
Yeah, going really deep inside, going like, well, what's the gift? And what am I happy about? What sparks joy? And really bringing those things up. And then also, once you even have a little bit of those, start sharing it with people around you who are suffering. So I'm able to do Reiki circle, and like during those times in the beginning of pandemic last year, I'm able to bring my gift of my positivity to, my either the KonMari or Reiki world. So that way people can see a hope. And it just, all it is just counting your gift or connecting with yourself and looking for the gift or looking for the light and not being, not just looking for something that just floats up there, but like deep inside of you.
Deep inside. And I guess one of the reasons we don't go there is because it's a painful place to go. If it wasn't painful, we wouldn't have all this kind of architecture around it to preserve us. And we go to, I did find something out a couple of years ago, is that when I was in a bad mood, I would judge people badly. And they not necessarily, and I wasn't right. It was like the old story, you take poison and wait for the other person to die. But I remember being really upset, and I thought, well, this and this, and none of those things were right. It was one of the greatest lessons. It was just the concept of negativity as opposed to positivity. And one of the takeaways from our listeners meeting you is that you understand the positivity. You are very positive. And what you do is positive, and it's reaching out in the right way. And it's like I said the word altruistic because it helps people. We would do it ourselves if we knew how. That's why what you do is so valuable. It's just finding the way for people to find that in themselves. It's there for every single one of us.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So yeah. I know that it's not always easy to do that if it's not in your practice. So that's why when I do Reiki sessions, what I normally do is actually, as part of Reiki session, I normally work with people and bring out all the stuff they have been holding onto that's inside of them, like all the crap. I call them dust bunnies.
Yeah. Right.
Like all the fear or concerns, like I help them bring them out and I release them. So it's like same thing as KonMari method, right? Like creating a space, just finding out all the stuff you don't need and creating a space and then bringing something good. So, and, if you are not someone who wants to do Reiki session, all I have to do is maybe at the end of the day, I think a lot of people do gratitude journal. Maybe at the end of the day, you can write down 3 things you're grateful for.
That's all. What's the old story? Someone said, you can meditate for 10 minutes a day. And someone said, I don't have time. And then the guide said, well, then you have to meditate for 3 hours. If you think 10 minutes isn't enough, I think the basics of people don't know how. I think it's as simple. It's not that they don't want to. It's like if you say, like with my Reiki clients, I would say, do you meditate or whatever? And they'd say, I just can't slow down. They want to, but it really, really works. Am I right?
Yeah, I know. And I was not a meditation person before Reiki. I was not spiritual at all. Those are like,
Is that right?
yeah, I was like,
Wow.
not for me. Yeah, I know. I know people think, because I'm from Japan, right? Like I do those things, and there's some aspect of things that I do, but no, not like spiritual stuff. Like it's actually, I don't want to like go off track, but it's funny that in Japan, they have negative reaction to things that are religious. So yes.
Spiritual or religious?
So they call it like, oh well, that seems so religious or something, and that just like they're referring to like cult.
I hear you.
So I just thought it was very interesting because religion is really respected in this country, or more so, but in Japan they say it that way. But most everyone, average Japanese person, practice Shintoism and Buddhism as part of culture.
But that's not to them religious.
Right.
But they're talking about all the hoi polloi and the, I can understand what they're saying. I mean, there's not the Christian religion there.
Right. Yeah. They're talking about when they say like, oh, that sounds so religious, they generally mean like it's cultish. Yeah. So I just recently, because of pandemic, right? Another amazing thing that happens pandemic, and what I end up doing during pandemic is connecting with people in Japan. I probably should tell you, like I've been here 20 years, right? In the States for 29 years. And I really didn't have that much connection to Japan because all my family is here. I don't even have any relatives in Japan. So I go there maybe 4 times in 29 years. And then
wow.
I was a little concerned because I only have a green card, that if something happens during pandemic and they said like, oh, well, anyone who has a green card, you got to go back to your country. Then I'm like, I don't know how to survive in Japan. So for that reason, I connected with Japanese people. And then I was a little worried. I'm like, well, I'm a little like odd for a Japanese person. I don't even speak so well. I don't know the culture. Are they going to accept me? And I found this really amazing community of people who just, adored me. And
of course they did. Oh, how wonderful. How did you find them?
It's like how do I say? It's like an online membership site where like everyone's up for growth. And so
very nice.
What's funny is I ended up like a month after I joined there, people are asking me like, oh, so how do you speak English? And I never ever taught anyone how to speak English, but I came up with, because what I do here, I'm often teaching class, right? So I came up with a class on how to release your fear of speaking English.
Of course. But how to release everybody? Hear her? Oh my God, of course.
So one of the things that I want to mention is that, during that time, I only went outside once a month to go to Costco, right? I was completely stuck at home. And
is that right? Once a month? Oh, wow.
Yeah, once a month I went to Costco. And, and maybe, how do you say, every 2 weeks I needed to move the car. So maybe I went outside twice a month or something. But, during those times, I was just home and I'm used to traveling around. But I found a way to feel freedom and excitement and adventure on Zoom. And I also found a way, I feel like when you feel useful to some people, then you feel better. Right? So
that's our legacy, is to be useful. Yes.
Without sacrificing yourself. So because some people, they're so great and they're so given, but they're killing themselves. So I found a way to, so I ended up, let me think. So last year started in July, going like, well, I don't really speak that much Japanese. And I even have to, when I start teaching class, right? I'm like, well, I don't really speak Japanese so well. So, I'm going to like probably freeze here and there or ask you how to say this thing. And I started there. and I ended up teaching 30 online classes. You know, in Japan. Yeah, so I taught KonMari, and I taught all these like communication skills
in Japanese.
In Japanese, yeah, and I know, and then you know, all these like and then I'm gonna be teaching Reiki class in Japanese soon too. But yeah, I just found a way to have fun and become useful, so I feel better about myself. So that's another reason I want to say. I mean, I was having so much fun every day that I'm like, I'm not going to bed until like 2 a.m. because I'm having so much fun communicating.
I understand. So tell me, we're going to get to Tony Robbins, but just tell me a little bit about the aromatherapy. My daughter, as I told you, she just loves scents and aromas. And how does that work? How do you sell? How does it work? Not how do you sell, but what can you do with aromas?
Yeah, so I love essential oils. I go more for natural. I try not to take medications as much as possible. So when something happens, generally the first thing I go for is the essential oils or any other alternative healing, including Reiki. And there are many oils that like would help me with my rash or many misalignment. And because of the FDA regulations, I can't say this heals that, right?
Yeah. Right.
But what's amazing is it also uplifts you because it just goes through your nose and it goes into your brain right away. So the way nowadays, the way I help people is I actually do, and this is what I was going to tell you, I do like show and tell of oil with the people who buys the oil from me or with me. So that way I can help them pick new oils. So, you know, right now I can't possibly
right.
Here, smell it. But when people tell me that, oh, well, you know what, I'm looking for these kind of oil, then I can say, well, these oil will be able to, you know, clear your skin or, you know, like that kind of stuff I do on Zoom and help people decide which oils to get. And then when they get them, then you know, and then will ask me like, oh, how can I use this? Then I help them with that. But they have the oil in front of them, so they know what it smells like and how to use them. Yeah. And I used to use them for my dog as well too. That's another reason I got really into it because and for those listeners, dogs, you have to be careful. You can't use all the oils. But my dog used to flip out with like thunderstorms. And I have this particular oil called Baller that gives you courage. And I put that on his paw. Well, I have to put it on my paw and put it on his paw so it's not like too strict, too strong. And then he'll be okay. He'll just like go lay back down. So it helps me, but also it helps him. And like I keep lavender, and then my mom too, I give her lavender too in the kitchen. Like most of the people that I'm close to, they have lavender in the kitchen because when you get burned, the first thing that you want to do is just put lavender on. And then normally you don't even get scar or a little bump on there, even if you like touched it pretty badly. So wait, was that kosher to say? I think that was okay. There's certainly a claim.
I think that was okay to say. But you all can't see, but I'm going to put actually this picture up on Instagram. But behind Michelle are all these bottles. I said, are those nail polish? The colors are just absolutely beautiful. Well, I am definitely going to do that with you. And then my daughter as well. So can we talk about Tony Robbins now? I've been a fan for, I cannot tell you how many, since before I knew who Deepak Chopra was, I saw Tony Robbins and I was awestruck. I thought, is this guy for real? And then I saw that he was. And I saw the people around him. I mean, I was really interested as you went there because I didn't necessarily think of him as this spiritual dude. I thought he was like pretty much athletic and bigger than life and so forth, but maybe I was wrong.
He has, well, so what I love about him is he's very well-rounded. So he's known for his coaching or business aspect of it, and he has very powerful energy, right? So when we think about like Reiki or healing or spirituality, that's like much softer, then you may not associate him. But if you do go to his most basic event that's 4 day long called UPW, then the fourth day is about spirituality. So he invites speakers, and he hasn't invited Reiki practitioner, but he does invite pranic healer to be a speaker.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he also give us practice on how to connect ourselves, like meditation practice. And he also been to India and studied at Oneness University. So yeah, he's very spiritual too. That's one of the things that I like about him, is that he talks about relationship, he talks about business, he talks about spirituality, he talks about health, and everything. So you know him way longer than him, because I only started going to his event in 2017, and I'm a workshop junkie, so I'm an event person.
Yeah, you are. But that's wonderful.
I generally don't,
there, and now she's there, and yeah.
I'm generally hopping from one workshop to another workshop.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful.
And even now too, now I can do them on Zoom. That's even better. It used to be I had to travel from one state to another state,
Yeah.
But now I'm on Zoom and I can attend so many workshops. So I was just, assisting his workshop last week, which is called Life Mastery. And that one is about mastering your life. So it's, the big focus was about health. But do you know Anthony William?
No, I don't.
He's a medical medium. And
write it down. Anthony
William.
Okay.
Yeah. I think some of the listener probably know him. He's big with Sara Lee juice. So he's known for his Sara Lee juice.
Uh-huh.
So I tried doing Sara Lee juice in the past, and I didn't like them. But this time around, because I'm doing it, I'm there to support my participants, but I also need to do it to be able to support them. So right. I was drinking it with them, and then I made a commit for myself to continue. So, we had the snowstorm. I still went out and got myself more Sara Lee. Sara Lee juice, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking it every day since then. But what I love about working with Tony is, in the beginning, I went to this UPW is the basic one, the first one. And then I loved what he offered. So when he presented, there's this thing called Master University, and you do 3 courses. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I ran downstairs, and I was like in this like club section on the 2nd floor. I ran downstairs and I signed up. And then, next thing I know, and then at that time, I'm like, I'm not sure, those were like 5-6 day courses at different states. I'm like, I don't know if I can take that many days off, and you have to finish it in 2 years. But, like when there's a will, there's a way. So I ended up finishing it in like 4 months or something like that. So that was July, and I ended up finishing in December. So, and then I really wanted to learn how to coach, and then how to become a leader. So I just went on taking more classes. And then next thing I know, after you've done all these practicum, just like, Reiki master, you could apply to become Reiki teacher and learn to be that. So I was invited to be Reiki, become senior leader. So I'm at the event supporting people who come, because generally his courses are like 5,000 people or 15,000 people, and he can't take care of everyone. So generally we go into groups. And me and a couple other people, like other senior leader and the trainer who is above me, all of us will take care of a group of people. So we're assigned to like generally about 60 people. And, some people do come to these places because they're in a dire situation. And what we do is, just listening to Tony and doing stuff that we're doing, from the stage, it helps them too, but they need a little bit more individual help. So we're there to help them see.
Oh, and I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we coach them or we work with them and help
Support.
them vision. Yeah, and we do interventions. So that way they can go home seeing that the life is worth living, or what their true calling is, or whatever that they need help with. That's what me as a senior leader is there for, and it's such an honor to be able to support these people that are there. I mean, they're not cheap workshops. They do spend a lot of money and they put themselves in there. So, money is not everything, but when people put a lot of money in there, I feel like they also put a lot of themselves in there to be able to help themselves. So it's always really great to be able to help them. And by doing that, it also helps me as a coach and as a Reiki practitioner, more skills to be able to help my clients too. So that's why I keep going back and serving all these workshops.
And it keeps you, or I mean, I'm just saying, but it raises your ability. It raises your footstep, if you will, in this world of spirituality. It takes you another step and another step so that someone feels comfortable literally with Reiki in your hands.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And what people are kind of looking for. It's not just, oh, look, I learned how to do this and we're going to do a massage and that's it. This is like a whole magical world. And when I saw you taking these different things, it all made sense. And we have to go. I can't believe this time went so fast. But
oh, no.
I can't even believe it. Can you do me a favor? And I'll put it on Instagram as well. But can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Sure. My main website is purplefishhealing.com. So purple like color, and fish is the one that swims in the ocean, and healing.com. And then I also have another website that's organized.purplefishhealing.com, and that one has my KonMari stuff in it. And Purple Fish Healing is Reiki. So those two websites has contact information there, and also the KonMari website has a free step-by-step guide. So if you want to see what you need to do or what's involved, feel free to go over there and download. And like I said before, it's if you like to start your KonMari journey, and if you want to have a free consultation with me, contact me and we'll chat and find out how I can help you.
You really helped me. I can't even begin how much stuff. And I'm ready to do it again. At different stages of your life. I wanted to say to you is that the name of this is the Dessert Course of Podcast. Mm-hmm. And I named it that because there's a very brilliant, wonderful writer who does biographies. And he did Steve Jobs and all of these people because they respect him, named Walter Isaacson. And he just did Leonardo da Vinci. And someone said, why didn't you do that first? I mean, you knew about him all those years ago. Why didn't you do that first? He said, I saved Leonardo da Vinci for the dessert course of my career. So that's what this is for me as well. This is the dessert course of my career, which is my life, which is fine. But having talked to you, and for everybody, it's purplefishhealing.com. is that I would like to do an aromatherapy, and I had said to you that we should probably do Reiki as well. So those are the two things that I want to do, and you can easily get involved and call Michelle or go to her website. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so much fun. I know we can just keep talking.
We can just keep talking. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I know we all did.
Yeah, that was so much fun. I hope all you listening have fun.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to throw you a kiss.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.